Hey guys, welcome back to Honey Money SG. Christopher here, and this time is the next episode of Talking to Myself. Now today I want to talk about old advices that do not work anymore in our generation. And I'm sure that you heard of many advice given by your parents or your relatives, but those advices are really more relevant for their generation but may not really be relevant to our generation. Now let's just start with the first one. Do not invest in stocks. By stocks I mean company shares, right? So I think why the older generation is very afraid of stocks is because of what they experienced during their years of growing up and working in the corporate world. Now, if you remember of the financial crisis that happens within the last few years, in 1987, we had a financial crisis. In 1997, we have another Asian financial crisis. And then in 2000, we have the dot-com bubble. And then in 2008, we have the Great Financial Depression because of Lehman Brothers. So you see, our elders have actually experienced severe levels of financial downturns in the markets. And hence, they may have experienced very big drops in their share prices that they have invested in, or they may have seen other friends or relatives invested in the stock market burning their fingers because they do not know what they were investing in. And during the old times, there were no social media and internet wasn't that advanced, so all the news they get is really from traditional media like newspapers, radio, televisions, and whatever they heard from their friends in the coffee shop. And let's not forget that during the 80s, 90s, and even the 2000s, it was an incredible property market bull run, okay? For real estate, especially in Singapore, it has undergone one of the fastest growth in both capital appreciation and of course the rental income that accompanies with it. So for the baby boomer generation, they actually experienced huge increases in their net worth, especially in their property assets, because of how the economy has boomed over the years. So if you were to ask them to put money in the stock market, it's actually something really unfamiliar to them, and it's really taking a higher level of risk compared to real estate. There is considered a relatively safer form of asset. And let's not forget that last time banks used to give you 8.5% annual interest on your savings account or fixed deposits, like this poster right here by POSB. So why would anyone go and dabble in the stock market when the banks were already giving like 8.5% guaranteed returns, while like stock market now we are averaging like 7 to 10% in the S&P 500 index. The truth is, investing in the stock market now is very much different from what we had in the past because of the financial mechanisms set in by institutions and of course governments to actually safeguard investors' interests that such depressions and recessions would never happen again or tend to have a less impact on the macro economy or on a global scale. And the other hard truth is, if you have never started investing, then the distance between you and early retirement is going to get even further. Now make no mistake, last time we could just work in the same company for many years and then enjoy that fat paycheck and even subsequently receiving pension for the company because you have served quite a number of years in that company. And you could just retire alone with all the savings without having any investments at all. But looking at the rate of inflation right now in the global market trend, if you don't invest, you're losing out on your cash value over time, year over year. So investing in our current generation is never an optional thing. It is necessary if you want to safeguard your finances. And again, with the prevalence of internet and social media, right, there are more and more resources to actually learn investing and what the business does at a greater and faster scale. So information is not that slow anymore compared to the old generation. So people can really make better informed decisions of their investing. If you really want to start but don't know how to, nowadays you don't even have to go to the library and borrow a book, right? That is so 1990s or 2000s. Now you could just go on to internet, go on to YouTube, search for your favorite content creator and just look at the content that is presented. Now you don't have to trust every bit of the content, but just cross-reference to other kind of content creators so that at least you have a well-balanced opinion of what is investing about. So that's point number one. And point number two is not to use credit cards at all. Now a lot of people even till this age have a lot of misconception about credit cards, and that's because credit card is like a double-edged sword. If you can use it wisely, it can be your greatest weapon, but if you don't know how to use it, then it will just step yourself on the foot. You see, the older generation, they could really not live with any credit cards because at that point in time, credit card payment processors are not that advanced. It's not that prevalent. You don't see credit card machines on the cashiers. And last time there was no PayWave, by the way. There were no online payments. So everything, most of the payments have to be dealt with cash or even check. and even gyro or nets, right? So with the advancement of internet and payment processes, online payments have actually fueled the growth of credit cards and credit card rewards, right? Which is another form of content that I also publish greatly on my channel to teach people how to reap those rewards and hack those credit cards so that you can get the best bang for buck for your money. Now, the older generation believes that if you own a credit card, you will incur great debts because you don't know how to manage the money, and it seems like everyone is lazy in managing their finances, and they tell their kids, hey, you better don't get a credit card lah. At most, you can go and get a debit card because at least you're spending money that you already have. Now, that cannot be further away from the truth. You see, owning a debit card is more dangerous than a credit card. Why so? Because once a hacker gets hold of your debit card number, he could just do all the online purchases and draw every single bit of cash that is linked to your current bank account, and your banks will have a hard time trying to chase him down because all the transactions were already approved. Whereas if you use a credit card, at least the credit card company or the financial institution could just investigate the fraud behind it and not charge it to your card, or just waive away the charges if they are really small. Try doing that on the debit card, and I'm sure you'll have a wild ride. So you sort of get the idea between the different generation thinking, right? A lot of it is really propelled by the growth of internet and the development of how many people have mobile phones or computer networks now. If you were to ask me to use credit card like 40 years ago in the 80s, I'll probably not use it as well because not many places accept credit cards anyway. So it's not that they were wrong, it's just that as time goes by, you have to be really highly adaptable to this society as well as the macroeconomic trends. And that is the more important skill that you want to have instead of telling people they were wrong. Okay, the last old advice that does not work anymore is not to job hop and stay all your working years in the same company. I'm sure you all have heard your parents say that, right? Just stay and work in the same company. Do not job hop. The company will reward you from your loyalty rewards and then promote you every other year because you are proven to be a good, loyal employee. That may work in the past, but now it doesn't work this way. Company is really all about dollars and cents. You see, in the past, companies are very much local, very little international companies with international offices, and there's not much outsourcing services that could be done. And that is why, like a local company, if they want to have an overseas branch, they need to hire like the entire support function, like finance, HR, customer service, business operations, all from the overseas country in order to run that overseas branch. But now with the internet, everything is so interconnected. You could hire someone from across the globe and outsource your services to another company because there's such demand and supply going on, right? So they don't need to keep like separate HR teams, separate finance teams, separate IT teams, this kind of business support functions. And that is why there are even more retrenchment exercises going on under the name of company restructuring, because now company can centralize their workforce or a certain department at one site and then focus their resources on other more competitive areas, which means the company does not value your loyalty at all, because at any time the company may remove you on the basis of company restructuring. And again, that's another effect brought to you by the internet growth. And let's not deny the fact that if you are able to job hop quite often, it means you are quite in demand for your skills, right? Because employers sees that, hey, other company has recognized you, so you should be quite a good fit. It's the same as dating a relationship, you see. Sometimes when you identify a single guy, nobody wants him because there's no competition, he's kind of deemed undesirable by the ladies. But once at least one lady starts showing interest in that guy, then a lot of other ladies will see, hey, there must be something that she sees in him and I might be interested too. Also works the same way for credit cards. When you have zero credit history, not all the banks will approve your credit card, but you just need to get one bank to approve your credit card, and then the rest of the banks will also approve you. Don't believe me? Go and try it. Sometimes people just need others to take the first step before they can give a fair assessment of what or who you really are. Yeah, so job hopping is not that much frowned in our generation anymore, and it also means that you are in higher demand because of skills and your abilities that you bring about. Yeah, so with all that said, I don't think it was wrong of the older generation to think this way. It was just that those advices were more relevant to their generation than our generation because of the growth of internet, as you can see. And the next mega trend, I don't know what's happening after the internet, maybe something else like blockchain that is going to take over the world's financial institutions. We'll see about that in like 10 to 20 years time and see how it pans out, right? Yeah, so really don't blame your parents if their advice was wrong. It's because they were brought up this way and the society was back then much simpler than what we have now with the internet going on. So if you enjoyed the video and found value in it, remember to like and subscribe. My name is Christopher. This is Honey Money SG, steering young adults to financial independence.